20 years, yikes. And then also was an interim minister at the UU Church in Louisville, Kentucky. And that just begins to scratch the surface of her background. She is a death doula. She has trained to be a hospital chaplain. She's a woman of a wide variety of interests, and so it's really nice to have her with us today. So, Miriam. Yes, that is it. As best you can. Yeah, that works. Just right. And you'll be fine.
Okay. No. First, it's great to be back here again. I have preached here at various times. I think last time I was in the basement, which I didn't know that was, it was something like either the air conditioning worked better there or the heat worked better, but that's why we were there. It was really great to be there. I wanted to start with a movement meditation. Don't be afraid, it's not too bad. But here's the thing, in a movement meditation, probably this will be this, as about as far as we will move, and I will just talk you through it. For some people, it's more comfortable to do this seated. A lot of people like being up because it gives them a little more freedom. You just have to make sure you're far enough away from the person beside you, don't whack it in the face, right? And some people like this before the message because it just helps them kind of arrive a little bit more. And others like to close their eyes and listen to the words and maybe look at what's happening, but just experience it inward. Those are all available to you, however you want to do this. One of my spiritual, need to turn down a little bit, yeah. That's the, yes.
I'm not touching that. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead. My spiritual mentor, Angeles Arian, was a cultural anthropologist, and she grew up in the Basque area of Spain and the indigenous people of the Basque area of Spain. She spent her entire life studying indigenous cultures and bringing that wisdom forward. And I spent a lot of time with her. She was a great teacher, and many people. Her book, The Fourfold Way, and The Second Half of Life are wonderful pieces. So this is something, a movement meditation you can do in the morning or whatever. I like to do in the morning, and it goes like this. I'll show it to you first, and I will explain the origins. The first comes from indigenous people of the north, like Inuit, and it is a good day to fly. It is a good day to die. And she said, the good day to fly is setting your intention for the day. Like, I would like to take courage with me today, or joy. And it is a good day to die, to let go of those things that, maybe one thing that's been kind of holding on that might not make that intention possible, you let go of that. So that's the first movement. The second one is from the Maasai of East Africa. It is a good day to stand in our long, tall bodies, and that puts us right there in the body. So we can go deep, deep, and you put your leg out into our roots. That's an honoring of the ancestors to remember, which is a lot of what we're doing today for your anniversary. And then the end is either Celtic or Basque area of Spain. It's all kind of mixed in there, but it's a step out where we are a strong, you do that, soft, and subtle creature. It's just a lovely. So let's try it together. Here we go. It is a good day to fly. It is a good day to die. It is a good day to stand in our long, tall bodies so we can go deep, deep into our roots, for we are a strong, soft, and subtle creature. Now see if you can do it and say it with me. I'll try it that way. It is a good day to fly. It is a good day to die. It is a good day to stand in our long, tall bodies so we can go deep, deep into our roots. For we are a strong, soft, and subtle creature. And then the last time we do it in silence, and then I'll offer a common prayer. Gracious Spirit of love and light, we give gratitude for this time together. We give gratitude for this church, which has been here for so long, for so many people. We remember at this time all those throughout the world who may be suffering in mind, body, or spirit, all beings. And we look into our own hearts to offer love first for ourselves. And by doing that, to allow the love to grow beyond ourselves into the greater world, encircling our planet with a sense of comfort and care. Again, for those who may be suffering in mind, body, and spirit, knowing it could be somebody here or somebody next to us, or it might even be our very self. We give thoughts of care, we give thoughts of blessing, that each person, that each being on this planet may grow into the greater good for their own life. With gratitude for Mother Earth, Father Sky, and all that has brought us here today, we say thank you. Amen. I just finished serving the Louisville church down in an urban setting in Louisville, the First Unitarian Church of Louisville, in June. And before I left, we were doing a lot of goodbyes and everything. And somebody said, I don't understand when you put your glasses on and when you take them off. What's going on with your eyesight? And I said, I wear contact lenses and these are my long distance glasses. So when I want to see who's here, I put those on. And I started wearing glasses when I was 3. So a complicated situation, but I thought all that was there for 2 years and they waited till the end because I was always putting them on at different times and taking them off, and it didn't make sense to them. So when I talked to Charlotte and Sherry about this, it was a homecoming, a time where the message is sent out to folks who have been here before to this congregation and to all the folks who are here now to say, hey, come and join us. And also the 150th anniversary of my understanding of the bricks and mortar building that happened. You also have an anniversary there, that would be 175. And I believe that's when you first came in and said, we're a church. We're not just meeting in each other's houses. I mean, we're doing some of that, but we're going to say we're a church. Both of those are really important. And as I was looking at the sense of homecoming, 2 things came up for me in a congregation that I've seen over and over and over with its members and newcomers. What gives you a sense of belonging? Sometimes what is meant when we come in and we say, or even if we've been a long time, that there are times we say, this is it, this is my spiritual home. And I would add, what wondrous love is found here at Oaklandon UU Church. So that song,
what wondrous love to me celebrates the hallmark of what a universalist church, which is how this was founded, is an incredible wondrous love. You saw the sign, God is love. That was prophetic and a little countercultural in its day, and it's becoming countercultural again. To say God is love, God is love. And I'm glad you're here. I think Unitarians and Universalists are theologically needed in this world today. What wondrous love is this? The kind that passes down from generation to generation. I went through and read all the names on the windows, and then I met somebody who actually was related to the windows. I mean, you know what I mean? And it just felt like that sense of love that has come through the generations, through all of you, through people you have known who have now passed, to people who have not come in that door yet. The love you share together as a congregation, the ways you nurture yourself so that it can go back out into the world in outreach. I wanted to share one story about that song, What Wondrous Love Is This? And I used to be in a congregation, we'd have a children's moment, and they got to pick a hymn. So they actually got to contribute to what we were doing. And the pianist would play it, and we'd sing a verse. And one little boy raised his hand and said, the sinking down song. We were like, the sinking down song, the sinking down song. And we realized, oh, when I was sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow, friends to me gathered round. Oh, my soul, my soul. And that's what he wanted us to sing, the sinking down song. And those lyrics were changed by Unitarian Universalists to be more inclusive, to be in some ways less judgmental and violent and with thorny crowns and all types of things that no, for friends to gather around, that kind of love. I will sing, I will sing. I also picked the song because it is a 19th century melody. And since we're celebrating both the 1850 and the 1875, it felt wonderful to have that music holding us today and being able to give our voice to that. For this 150th celebration of Oaklandon Unitarian Universalist Church, your spiritual home, the spiritual home for many generations. And Sherry mentioned one of the things about being a long and distinctive history, the oldest existing church in Marion County, still operating in the same location, the oldest UU congregation in Indiana, and the only one meeting in an historic Universalist church. That's kind of like the statistics now they give in sports. You can get it narrowed down and you can find those things, but in a lot of ways, that's extraordinary. And this congregation, as you read the history, this comes up over and over. The history of this congregation is one that's filled with tragedy and setbacks, including 2 fires, but also a can-do optimism and gentle dedication rooted again in a loving universalist spirit. Who dare says love comes first. As I said earlier, I just finished an interim at the Louisville church, who also had 2 fires in their history. And it affected them a great deal. And it's the feeling for me here is very similar. Theirs was 1880 and 1980, and yours was 1920, 1925. But that church, and when they talk about it, it left them like, we can do this. We can do this. And they did. You bring up something and okay, we're going to do that. It leaves something where whatever the fires are, you are going to deal with them. The cornerstone from the original brick building that was destroyed in that 1925 fire was saved. And that's, as many of you know, downstairs by the fireplace. And I do have a photo of me standing there with that because I think it really is significant to have Universalist Church, 1875. God is love. I could get out there and speak that in a public pulpit and have people throw tomatoes at me. So what a heritage you have here. A spiritual home that can do attitude centered in love. And I do think about the fires that are facing us right now as Unitarian Universalists. The fight for democracy in our country, the healing or care for our Mother Earth. And yes, the audacity to embody love. Right now, as Sherry mentioned, we're dealing with that whole issue with SNAP. 45 million people. We're going to get limited food or none. 38% of them are children. So we're here saying, wait, love, kindness, progressive thinking within this theological house. And I love it that you are reaching out and supporting the nearby elementary school. What a perfect place to have that, and a place in need. That's the kind of love that comes from the heart nurtured here and then goes outward. This place in your spiritual home. So every time you enter these doors, whether it be for the 1000th time or the first, may you feel it as a homecoming, as a sense that you do belong. Just a few years ago, the Surgeon General, some of you probably remember this, announced that we had an epidemic in this country. It's only gotten worse since then, and it's loneliness. I have a lot of friends who are therapists, and they send their folks to churches. There's not a lot of places where we get to mingle like this in honor of the sacred. And also care for each other. Some people are going like, well, I go to my yoga class and I do this. And I go, well, who visits you when you're in the hospital? Nobody. Well, that's the difference in a congregation. It's a caring community created for that. Some of you know the author Brene Brown. She studies vulnerability and belonging, one of those pieces I like to go into. And she says this, belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than ourselves. And again, a congregation does that. We have our own spiritual sense of what's larger than ourselves, whatever that may be, truth, spirit, whatever that is. We have the larger sense of ourselves as part of a community. And then we have the larger sense of our love going out into the world. But she warns this. She says, because that yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and by seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but often barriers. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. A sense of belonging can never be greater than our own level of self-acceptance. That's powerful. How much we are loving ourselves in order to love other people. And again, in a lot of religions, it's flipped. I would say definitely in Christian nationalism, that is flipped. And I wonder, where have you learned about belonging in your life? From your family, school, and when I say learn, I mean the good, the bad, the ugly. Like where has that been for you, and what do you bring to this congregation? God is love. Or as I like to say, all that flows through the universe, a very Taoist interpretation. For 150 years, God is love, God is his love, however you interpret that. I want to reread the opening words that Sherry shared this morning, that she chose from Margaret Kite. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, that lonely self, to reconnect, to know ourselves, to be at home, here on the earth, under the stars, and linked with each other. Home in our bodies, finding our spiritual home. And for the last 5 years of my ministry, I've often dealt with that metaphor of spirituality around home and journey. Dr. Sharon Delos Parks, who, it was interesting at one time, she was doing a lot about spiritual development and at the same time teaching ethics at Harvard Business School. And I thought, wow, that's two very different and yet similar things. And she really got into this, and this is what she says about our spiritual lives. And however, again, that means to you, it's about how we make meaning in the world when I say that. She talks about the journey metaphor, which we often hear that, oh, the spiritual journey, this. She said, journey language is the language of transcendence. It is moving beyond to a greater sense of whole. It includes our desire to soar, like that ecstatic high that some people, oh, I just had the most amazing spiritual experience. It's kind of connected with conviction of aliveness, a confidence of spirit. Thus, our concepts of spirit, she says, are inevitably linked to our yearning for transcendence. We want to have that experience again, crossing over, for reaching beyond who we are. That has its place, but here's the thing. When we feel we are not what we ought to be, that I need to be that, then we're not where we ought to be. So if we're always thinking about that transcendent piece beyond ourselves, it's hard for us to be here. So she offers this companion metaphor in a sense of what does it take to make home. If we're talking about spiritual home, we're then talking about more of a connective, creative act of our human imagination. And she says a primary activity of the spirit. This is the creation of forms and patterns which cultivate and shelter life itself, literally this building. Homemaking are activities which build a space where souls can thrive and dreams secured, protected, related, nourished, and whole. And she always said, home is a space where we can be nurtured and cared for so we can dream. I believe that's one of the biggest purposes of a congregation, a place to be nurtured in mind, body, and spirit so we can dream. So maybe there's an idea of this helping an elementary school. And I will tell you right now, the administration in Washington is trying to can just create so much chaos. You don't have that kind of safe, secure place to feel I can dream. It's okay, I can think of all these other, even physiologically, neuroscience, you need to feel safe to be into that creative part. So when you come into problem solving, you come in with 4 or 5 ideas, not just this or that. When we're stressed out, it becomes this or that. Home as a place to be cared for and nourished so we can dream a better life into being. Dolores Park says, we live in a time when the human family seems to stand on the threshold of new possibilities, both glorious and terrible. So how are we attending to the need for homemaking? For the creation of nourishing space in which to dream good dreams and to cultivate the images that will nourish the future of our common life, of the common good. And who knew a sense of wanting to create a common good would also be seen as evil. So people come into our spiritual homes and they want to try and see if they belong. And I hope we can do all that we can in the next 150 years. I know as Charlotte said, you know, this anniversary is part of a beginning and a part of moving into community in a different way. And I love that, to think of it as a beginning. And it's not easy coming to a church for a first time and what people feel when they get here. And for some reason, this one young woman always comes back to my mind because she said, I have found my spiritual home here. And, you know, I always tell people to wait to sign the membership book. Don't do it right away. Come here a few times, make sure it's fit. She did. And then she wanted to see me in my office. And I met with her and I could tell she was sad. And she said, I feel so at home here, but everybody else has their act together and I don't. To which I laughed out loud. I hope you do too. And I said, wait. I know all these people. None of them have their act together. I don't have my act together. But that was her perception, right? She came in and that was the way that she kind of felt she didn't belong. So I asked her, I said, could I share this story in the pulpit? And I did. And it was a larger congregation and everybody there just laughed and she felt at home right away and she ended up staying and becoming a very active member of that church. I also remember another woman who, I think she was an accountant. And so I had gone to her and she goes, oh, I've gone to your church a couple of times. I go, oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember you. And she goes, it was too scary. I would come and I would drive around the parking lot and leave. You know, people have had different experiences with religion. And so finding a safe place and being there is not easy. Remember that every time a newcomer comes, it's not easy. So you all have been welcoming people for 150 years. You've centered love as your spiritual identity. You have said and you will continue to say, God is love. I pray your voices are heard. I pray your actions are received in love. And I will close with words from Rebecca Parker. She used to be the president of one of our seminaries out in California. And she talks about that difference of religions and religions who follow love. And she says this about Unitarian Universalism. We have countered the image of depraved human beings threatened by divine wrath with an advocacy for human goodness, creativity, and responsibility. I will add, God is love. We have countered the dominating and exploitive power of church and state with the advocacy of covenant, of democracy, it's what we promote, and just community. We have countered the violence of dividing humanity, which is happening now in our country, into the saved and the damned with the advocacy of world community, religious tolerance, and radical hospitality. And we have countered the violence of an apocalyptic view of end times with what we have is more of a realized eschatology that loves the world here and now, and we seek to protect it. It's not something later. This is the spirit of this house, this home, this homecoming. This is how we know and feel the spirit of home. This is how we pray. Our theological presence is absolutely needed in this world. I am so glad you all are here. Amen.